Welcome to Corvette Weekly. Sorry about the show last night. There was technical difficulties, but I think we've got them figured out now. How is the sound? Can everybody hear me?
All right, guys. No, I'm just joking. We got we got it figured out.
There's a
Oh,
delay.
God.
There's a
Yeah.
delay, so I heard this all of a sudden. I'm like, what? Somebody goes, not
No,
finished.
no. We're good. We're good. I had to. You have absolutely no idea how much work I put into this to make it work. So this was kind of just a joke at this point. But we're back. We're good. Everything's good now. So yeah, sorry about that. We had to have a little bit of fun with it because it was ridiculous. We were definitely not enjoying that stuff last night. But
I was.
anyway.
You weren't.
No, I was very upset. That was it's just out of the blue and absolutely nothing changed. There was no settings that changed at all, so that should not have been an issue, but it was for some reason. So anyway, here we are. This is the 94th episode. I'm going to start this out the same way we always do. Justin with Horsepower Obsessed, Steve with Protective Dad Pranks, Jason with Front Seat Driver. Together, we are Vette Syndicate. I made a really cool reference last night while you guys couldn't hear me about how Vette Syndicate is very similar to the Power Rangers. Because, you know, the Power Rangers, as when we were kids, they would come together and they'd form that bigger Power Ranger. I don't know. I don't remember what it was called, but that's basically what's happening here. We got 3 YouTube channels that come together and form Vette Syndicate. Anyway, we have something interesting to talk about right off the bat. If you guys haven't seen the Instagram post yet, one of our members decided that he was going to show the absolute maximum amount of support for Vette Syndicate by doing something different. What do I mean? I'm going to show you in a second here. Let me pull it up. It is right. Image right here. There he is. There's the guy. There's the man of the hour. So guys, this is Shane. He's in the house now. His screen name here is Hanging with Shane. Yeah, this is him. That is his tattoo. And if you want a closer look, you can have that. There it is. So this is dedication right here, guys. This man literally, yeah, AARPM says it all. He sacrificed his body for the cause. So it doesn't get any more supportive than this, guys. When you see Hanging with Shane in the comment section, you see him talking about the thumbs ups all the time. He is really just, he's doing the behind the scenes kind of work here, and he's getting the tattoo to represent. I think that's fantastic. Shane's an awesome dude. I spent a lot of time with him the last couple days at Ron Fellows, which we're going to talk all about here in a little bit, because yeah, it was an absolute amazing time. I spent my time with a lot of really cool guys. Actually, I think BPR Z06 is in the chat. Mike Z06 Mike is probably here. He just can't chat. Dax might be here. I'm not sure, but all of these guys are subscribers, and they were all really, it was an amazing time to spend with them. And we did amazing things at the Ron Fellows School. So anyway, like I said, we're going to talk about that in a second, but I wanted to show you guys that tattoo really quick because it is absolutely fantastic. It is, I was talking to Steve a little bit ago about it, and I was like, I think it's awesome that he would do it, but at the same time, it's like, this is our thing. This is me, Jason, and Steve. We created this, and we won't even do it.
Yeah.
Like, he's out there getting these tattoos, and we won't even do it. Like,
Yeah.
that's how crazy it is. But yeah, big thumbs up to Shane. He is an awesome guy. Very, very supportive of the cause here. So if you guys were ever doubting how into it Shane is, you know now. But
Hey, and we also want to talk about really quick. Let's talk about what one of our subscribers did for the 3 of us.
Yep.
You can take
Yes.
that, Justin.
yes, I
'Cause he's
can.
in the house right now.
He
I was
is.
just saying, I'm going to pull up his username here.
Yep.
Oh, no. If I can find it. Why am I not finding it?
Just put @STE. It pops up.
Okay, I'm with Steve on the fact that does not work for me. Oh, there it is. All right, so Steven Risha. He is actually, obviously, a subscriber. He's a supporter of Vette Syndicate. He's local to me to some degree. He reached out to us after the last show we had, which would have been 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago now, because we had talked about the YouTube application where you could pay monthly for it to get it ad free. And when we found out it was $20 a month, we're all too cheap to do it. Steven Risha actually reached out though and said, "Hey, I have a family account. I can add you guys to it if you want, and you guys can all have ad-free experience on YouTube."
No
How
more
awesome
ads.
is that? How
No
awesome
more
is
ads.
that? So again, the subscribers make this thing. You guys make this thing, and it's fantastic. A
Yeah.
big thank you to Steven again.
Huge.
You're awesome. It's absolutely it's a different experience browsing YouTube without ads. I'll tell you that much.
Dude, yeah.
So thank you again. We wanted to make sure that everybody knew how awesome you are. So no good deed goes unnoticed here, guys. If you guys are doing anything like that that's helping support the channel, I don't require all of you guys to go out and get tattoos, but if you want to, that's pretty cool, and we will definitely show it on the channel. But by no means are you required to do something like that. Shane is just an awesome dude, and he takes crazy awesomeness to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like so, guys. We got 31 thumbs up so far. Let's try to hit the typical 100 by 8 o'clock. So in about 20 minutes, if we could hit that 100 mark, that would be really awesome. But another thing, guys, before we get into any kind of news tonight, I want to talk about the giveaway. So Paragon Performance, once again, they're crazy awesome like Shane. They are supporting the channel with a lowering kit for the C8 Corvette. So whether you have a C8 Corvette Stingray, a C8 Corvette Z06, C8 Corvette E-Ray, if you somehow manage to get one before anybody else, this lowering kit will work, because what it is, it consists of the lowering collars, the lowering collar spacers if you need it, if you don't want to drop it a full inch in the front, the lowering wrenches that you'll need for the rear, and a couple other miscellaneous parts that will only be used for the Z06 when lowering. So basically, this is around a $200 set of parts for your C8 Corvette, and it is to lower it. It doesn't matter what C8 Corvette you have. If you want to lower that car, you can get it here. Normally $200. Every $10 will get you an entry to win. Every $100 will get you double entries to win. So if you guys are interested in getting this, jump on this now, because assuming we hit at least $400 tonight, we'll set it at $400. You guys it will be given away. So $400, this will go tonight. So again, $100 will get you double entries, and you'll get a product that's worth over double what you paid to enter. Now that is, again, just on Venmo. So check out the link at the top of the chat if you want to do that. But yeah, that's the giveaway for tonight. So let's entries going on that so we can make this thing happen. Gen X Vet says, at Horsepower Obsessed, what is the possibility of you guys having some VS window decals made we could place on our cars? That possibility is very good. As you guys may or may not know, I own a detail shop, and we can actually cut vinyls there. So let's do this. Steve, Jason, and I have been kicking around the idea of making vinyls for Vette Syndicate for quite some time now. But what I want to know is how many of you guys would actually buy them? I need to know, basically, if we make these things, that you guys will actually buy them. So I'm trying to think how we can do this.
They can't be expensive. They're cheap.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, depending on the size, if we go with something around 6 inches long or so, maybe 2 or 3 inches tall, I mean, you're talking probably, for us to make some money on them, maybe $8. And to ship, it's just going to go in an envelope. So, oh God, the LT4 powered. Oh, Lord have mercy. That man he is too much.
Yeah, gross. No.
Steven Risha, on the C7, I think they are actually, yeah. I thought you were talking about the C8. They're definitely different on the C8, but C7 lug nuts I believe they are the same for the Camaros. Okay, let me do this, guys. If you want to buy a decal, I feel like I need. All right, I'm just gonna do a poll. If we have enough people that want to do this, we'll just make it.
A package deal with black bow ties.
There you go.
We could do that.
Well, it was funny. 2020's talk about he just did his taillights with the exact kits that we just did from Paragon,
Yep.
and he did the same thing. Now we finally got them all blacked out. Like,
Yep.
I finally got it blacked out.
Yeah,
fully.
it looks way better.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I put up a poll. Vote on this, and yeah, honestly, if you wouldn't, feel free to go ahead and hit no. I want to know basically if we make these, first off, how many to make, and second, if they're going to sell. So feel free to vote on that one.
Since we're not getting a race rant poster,
General's in the house.
General Lee, how you feeling, man? It's been a little bit. I still haven't mailed out your thing yet either. I apologize, but it's hard to find a box for this thing because it's so tiny. 48 thumbs ups, guys. Let's hit those thumbs ups, man. We got about 100 people watching. Let's hit those thumbs ups. Let's get it to 100. It'd be pretty cool if we could.
It's definitely a slower night on a Thursday. We're definitely better on a Monday.
Yeah, I had a feeling it would be. But
don't want to break the cycle.
Yeah, no, we really don't. And I mean, last night, of course, we would have had a show last night instead if things didn't happen. But typically after this, it's going right back to the Monday nights at 7:30. So don't fret. This isn't going to be the normal thing. No, so in order for us to make this worthwhile, because vinyl is not free, it would probably, depending on the size of these things, it would probably be around $5 to $8.
I have one on my C7.
Do you have any pictures of it?
You have the only one in existence.
I do. I have. It says VS or Vette Syndicate, and it has the VS. It looks good.
Guys, let's
yellow.
Smash those thumbs up buttons. It helps.
I need to do that.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Ron Fellows experience. So I see BPR Z06 is in the house, hanging with Shane. Obviously, I was there with him. The other two guys, they usually are watching. They just can't comment, so they're probably on here too. What we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about my experience, and then I'm going to have Jason chime in too, because Jason went to Ron Fellows in 2018, I believe it was.
Yeah, 18 or 19. I think it was 18.
And he went with a C7. So a little bit of a different experience, I would imagine. I was not there with a C7, so I was there obviously with the Z06. I didn't get to go for my ZR1. I didn't get to go for my Stingray because both of those cars were purchased right around the same time that COVID was a big thing, and I couldn't get a flight out to Vegas area. All right, so Dax is here. So he was the other one. There was 4 subscribers plus me, and Dax was basically the third one. So we got Shane, BPR Z06, Dax, and then Z06 Mike, who I know can't chat. So basically, the way this whole thing starts out, I have a lot of footage of this, and it's probably going to be spanned out over the 2 videos probably, and they're going to be pretty long. So if you guys are interested in knowing a little bit more about what the Ron Fellows experience is like, these videos are going to clue you in a little bit more than some of the ones that are out there now. But ultimately, what I want to start with is how it started. So when we first get there, we're in the classroom for a little while talking about all the things we're going to do, talking a little bit about the fact that, these cars are a lot more capable than you think they are. And if you've ever driven yours to its absolute limit, odds are very good you haven't even hit 50%. So after that, they get us in the car, and the first time in the Z06, we drive up and we're doing these little exercises where you hit once you go past one cone, you make a sharp turn around another cone. You go to another cone that tells you to turn, you make a sharp turn around another cone. It's basically a bunch of figure 8s. And they basically want you to make these turns by looking out your windows. They want you to see out the right window at the cone that you're supposed to turn at, and then immediately look to the left as you're turning around that cone.
Dude, that was probably my favorite exercise that we did. I loved that.
Yeah. And it was fun, but that wasn't my favorite. I'll talk about my favorite in a second. But after we were done with that, they made you go again, only this time they covered up the windshield, because what they were trying to teach you is that on the track, especially when you're making your turn, you're not really using that windshield so much for looking at your turns and your apexes and stuff, where you should turn in the apex. They want you looking out your windows for that stuff. And this is, of course, only useful on the track, but they covered up your front windshield and had you run that course again. And you realize really quickly, you're not looking out the windshield. You really don't
Nope.
need to. There's no information out there.
If
So
you're
it was
looking
really
out the windshield, you're probably looking in the wrong direction.
exactly, and that's exactly what they wanted to get across, is that you
Mhm.
don't need to be looking that way. So after that, after we were done with that exercise, we go back in and do a little bit more classroom time, which is again them talking from their experience, because of course they're very, very seasoned at this. They drive that track daily, so they
Yep.
know the ins and the outs of that track. So they tell us about everything that we're going to do again, and just kind of reiterate everything. And eventually we get to the point where we're wearing a helmet, we're wearing a Hans device just in case something were to happen. You don't get whiplash or anything.
They did not
After
have
that,
that when I was there. That's new.
really
Yep.
interesting. I will tell you this. I absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
I hated that Hans device. That thing is the most uncomfortable thing on the planet. Not because like when it's on and you're standing outside of the car, it's fine. But when you get
Yeah.
in the car, it bunches up behind you. It's pushing your helmet down. Like it is the most uncomfortable thing I've ever worn in my life.
Mm.
But yeah, guys, let's get those thumbs ups. We're talking a little bit about the Ron Fellows experience. And in the meantime, you guys can win a lowering kit from Paragon if you want to donate some money to the channel. Once we hit $400 donated, we're going to give this thing away. So if we don't hit 400 tonight, of course, it will roll over to the next Monday night, which will be only in a couple days. So, but anyway, moving on, guys, keep hitting the thumbs ups. But after we came back from doing those figure eights with closing the window up and stuff, I believe the next thing we did was
The wet track.
no, you know
Braking?
what? The very first thing we did was actually that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let's go back one step. The very first thing we did was the wet brake test, I guess. So basically, we would start at one end and accelerate up to 35 miles an hour. Once we hit a certain set of cones, you'd slam on the brakes. And it was really to teach you how ABS works and what it feels like, because you don't get to do this stuff on a daily basis. So we did that 35 and then slammed on the brakes once we hit some cones. And then they did the same thing again later while the track was wet. And then this time they pointed you in a direction. So as you're hitting the
Yep.
brakes, they're telling you to go either this way or that way. And you have to make that decision
With-
quick, but not fast enough to make you spin out.
Yeah. And you can't oversteer, because that was one of
Yeah.
the things that they talked about, just turning just
Gently.
slightly.
Yep.
You just want to change your direction. You're not trying to go flying off the track. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And so it was interesting again, because you can go out in your front, your driveway or on the road somewhere and slam on the brakes and you'll feel the anti-lock brakes, but
Yeah.
that's not safe. So you don't want to do that. But doing this in a controlled environment like this, it was a really, really good experience to get to know how your car, and really most cars in general, are going to react to you slamming on the brakes, especially once they put water on the track. Because now in a wet environment, or for me here in Pennsylvania, especially a snowy environment, I'm going to have a pretty good idea of how a car in general is going to react to me slamming on the brakes. So that was an awesome exercise. I thought that was one of the best ones, but the one that I really liked was the third one we did, which took us, again, with the helmet and the Hans device and stuff. We got into just a Stingray that had semi-bald tires, and the whole parking lot was wet. And we went out and did those figure eights again
Yeah.
on a completely wet asphalt. And of course, the tires were not perfectly good. They were somewhere in between. They weren't bald, but they weren't brand new either. So as soon as you would hit the gas coming out around the turn on a figure eight, the back end would want to kick out. And of course, as the back end kicks out, like the whole car's going this way. If I'm turning to the left, the back end kicks out. It's going to go all the way around. Now, they told us in the classroom, they were like, we want you to do this. We want you to spin out. That's the whole
Yep.
purpose of this. It's a controlled environment, so you're not going to spin into a telephone pole or anything. So that was my impression. I get in the car and I'm just trying my best to spin out. But in reality, what they wanted you to do was to continue trying to do the figure eights and spin out. And I didn't really understand exactly what they wanted at first until he explained it to me. I was like, oh, okay, I got you. So then I'm trying to do the figure eights, keep it tight. But also I want to kick out the rear by accident and make sure that I can readjust it. Now, this was my favorite event, because in Pennsylvania, we've been taught for as long as I can remember, that you're supposed to steer into a slide. that is the most unnatural feeling thing on the planet. Your natural instinct is to turn out of it. And when you do that, all that's going to do is make you spin the other way and then back the other way. But if you turn into it, the first time I turned into one, the car straightened back out and I was ready to go again. I was like, this is amazing. I literally just learned something that I would have never learned otherwise.
See, I learned that in BMX as a child, man. We would always power slide. You always turned into the slide. You know what I mean? So it wasn't abnormal to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be different for everybody because, like I said, I've been told this my entire life, but I've never really had an experience with it, you know? So it was like, this was cool. This was definitely an interesting thing. Plus, I love the idea of getting a car and just spinning it. Just spinning it. I think that's fun. So that was easily my favorite exercise. But after that, we started into some of the autocross stuff, which was the autocross was probably my second favorite thing, to be honest with you. So, ultimately, what the autocross was just, of course, a bunch of cones set up that you had to follow, you know, a pattern on. And I think BPR Z06 actually got the fastest speed there. He did it the fastest. I did it the second fastest, and then Dax was the third. But me and Dax actually tied. So it was a really interesting event, and the way it was put together was absolutely mind-blowing experience, because every time you would go out in the car, you would come back the second round, you'd be in the classroom. Then you'd go back out in the car, you'd come back and be in the classroom. So you'd go over everything in the classroom and then go and try to put what you learned, you know, in this case, onto the autocross. So it was really an awesome event. But ultimately, the second day was a lot more about track time. We spent a lot of time on the track the second day, and yeah, it was amazing. The track driving was awesome. The way they taught you how to drive the track was awesome. When we first got out there, I think my best time on the track the first couple times around was like 131 or 128 or something. And then after we went around a couple times and they showed us this, they showed us that, they showed us a couple different tricks, I ended up getting it down to 118. And it's like, it's not record shattering, of course, but at the same time, 118 is far better than the 130, I think it was, before they gave me their tips and tricks. They showed us how to follow certain lines and all this other stuff. It was amazing. So let me get to some of the questions here. I had a couple come in. Yeah, Gen X Vet says it sounds similar to an offensive defensive driving course I did, and it probably is. It probably is. And I can't even begin to tell you how important something like that really is. Like, after the first day in the class, I started to tell people, like, you should be required to do this before you even buy this car. Like, they shouldn't even sell you the car until you do this.
Especially with a lot of cars, not just the Corvette, especially, you know, like Mopar people, they need it, and Mustangs. I mean, I'm not knocking them. I mean, it's just, they got a lot of horsepower, you know, the Mopars. And so,
and that's the thing is, this can be translated from pretty much into any car. Other than the specific track driving experience, which is obviously very specific to the Z06, spinning out and controlling it, a lot of the autocross stuff, like, a lot of this can be translated to any performance car you're going to own.
I know that some of the other cars do, like Mercedes, some of the Mercedes, they'll have a class like this. Porsche, because I've talked to like customers who went to the different classes. I don't think any of them are as good as Ron Fellows, but they still have like a 1-day class or whatever, you know.
Dax says he got robbed. The only reason, so basically me and Dax were tied for second on the autocross. The only reason I won that tie was because they went with the second fastest time from each of us, and my second fastest was faster, I guess, than his second fastest. So we can always rematch if you want, Dax. Eric says, was it 2 full days of driving? Not full days, but you're driving both days. So it's a split between the classroom and driving, and then going back to the classroom, then go back to driving. You go back and forth like that. And the biggest reason you do that is because when the class is full, you're in class learning while the other class is out driving,
On
and
the
then they
track.
come in to learn, and then you go out on the track. So it allows them to have more people doing the same things at the same time, basically.
That's smart.
You know what's weird though, man? I was wiped out at the end of the day. I was tired.
Oh, I was too. Like I
Yeah.
told I was talking to Shane about it. We went out to eat afterwards, and no, very unintelligently, at least I got something that really should not have been something you ate after doing a lot of time on the track.
Yeah.
But afterwards, I went back to the place, and it was like 9 o'clock, and I was like, I'm going to bed. Like,
Yeah,
I am not a 9 o'clock kind of guy. So
that's pretty much how we were.
yeah,
No, you're
it
not
is.
9 o'clock guy. Jeez. 2 o'clock in the morning, here's Justin. I'm like, do you ever
Yeah.
sleep?
No,
And then
Yeah.
at
dude,
7 in the morning, he's awake still. Like,
yeah,
what are you doing?
dude, I last night until 4 o'clock. I
Damn.
honestly, I was up trying to fix this, and the sad part is I didn't even fix it last night. But yeah. So another thing is the places that we stayed on the track, the condos that are on the track, super nice places.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Even
they are.
though mine apparently wasn't that nice compared to the other guys for some reason. I got the one place that wasn't as nice. It had like, I guess, vinyl floors. It looked like hardwood. I couldn't really tell they were vinyl, but someone had to point it out to me. Anyway, I thought it was pretty cool. I come out of my bedroom and there's a sliding glass door in the kitchen, and I roll up the shade and I'm staring at the track. I literally am
Yep.
looking, and I mean, it's like maybe 30 feet from where I'm standing in my kitchen. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, we sat out back the first day we got there. There was people on the track, and we just sat out on the back patio and watched people drive. Man, it was a blast. Here's a funny story though, because my wife, all she ever wants to do is drive fast. She doesn't care about just driving a Corvette. She wants to race, whatever car. It doesn't even matter. And so we, of course, they, if you're in the slow class or the fast class, which is what they had with ours, was dependent upon how well you did in the exercises. So my wife, of course, when we talked about not oversteering, overcorrecting when you're going down the wet track, my wife overcorrected whenever, they throw up their arm, and she went a little too far off. So that's the only reason I can think of, but they put her in the slow class. She was so mad at me for being in the fast class and her being in the slow class. She wouldn't even speak to me that night. Like, she was so, and I didn't even know why. I just figured I made her mad. I was like, dude, whatever. And so, yeah, she was mad about that. But in her defense, she did go off the track one time because she was going so freaking fast, but her top speed was about the same as mine, which I think was like 118, 120 or whatever. And, she was in a Stingray. I was in the Grand Sport.
Yeah.
So
That's kind of funny because Amber says, that sounds familiar. Yeah, she does the same kind of stuff. I think Shane, I don't remember. I'd have to look at my PDR footage to see what my top speed was, but I think Shane hit 132 or something.
yeah.
I mean, the C806 is obviously a lot more faster, but
Yep.
Elijah says, how much more capable does the C806 feel compared to the C701? That's a hard question to answer because I don't think the C806 feels more capable, but at the same time, it's not less capable. They are very, very, very close to the same, only completely, they're polar opposites of each other, but they're very similar as far as very performance oriented. I feel like if I had my ZR1 on that same track, I feel like I'd probably would have done a hair better just because of the fact that the C7 is 50-50 weight distribution.
Yep.
I think that it would have done a little better in the turns specifically, and obviously on the straightaway it would have done a little bit better too because it's a little bit more horsepower. But the C806 is definitely an awesome car to have on that track for sure. And the thing is that the track's not super big, so a lot of we had a couple Stingray guys in our class, and a lot of the Stingray guys were doing just as well, if not better. Some of the drivers on that track, if they're in a Stingray, are only, I think they said, 2 or 3 seconds slower around that track than a Z06. It's not much. It's very, very minute difference because the track is so small with not a lot of, there's only one decent sized straightaway. And even then you'll hit 132 in a Z06 and maybe 122 in a Stingray. So the difference there's not a lot to be made up. Whereas if you put both these cars on a Nürburgring, the Z06 is going to make up a lot more time because there's a lot more straights and a lot more areas where the Z06's performance capabilities are going to shine out over the Stingrays.
Yeah.
Mark Cutsey says, that's a great deal. I booked my wife to go with me in March, but she can't go. Any takers? So believe it or not, Whip Reynolds was in here a second ago. I actually paid the extra $40 to have Whip go in place of my wife, basically, because he could sit in on the class. He could take part in the breakfast and the lunch, and he could basically just hang out. He just couldn't be in the car driving. He could go for ride-alongs, but just couldn't be in the car driving. Now, that's another thing is the ride-alongs really teach you something about this car too, because once you're on the track and you're pushing this car as hard as you can and you think, oh man, I'm pretty fast. You go for a ride-along with these guys who have been on this track for every day for the last 3 years. They are significantly faster than you. And whenever you're done riding with them, you feel like you've just been hit by a truck. And they tell you that was only 70%. If they still have another 30% they could push, but they don't want to because a lot of people don't react well to it, basically.
Dude, on our first hot lap, I literally was just like, that's it. I closed my eyes. I'm like, I'm not paying attention, man. We're going to die. You know what I mean? And,
well, about halfway through the first lap, we did 2 laps. So after the first lap, he looks at me. He's like, you're all right? And I was like, I'm good. Like, I wanted more, but my body was like, no, man, you're not good. Get out.
I'm just not a good passenger.
You're going to die in here. Yeah.
I'm not a good passenger.
I know. I'm not either. Like, I actually don't even like riding passenger on a regular drive.
Exactly.
So when you put me in the passenger side seat with a guy going 140 miles an hour into a turn that looks like we're going to die, that's not great. Yeah, Shane says it, guys. Let's get those thumbs ups. We should be a lot higher than we are right now. If we're only at 70, that's not good. Yeah, Elijah, it does. It feels scarier than a roller coaster. I compared it to a roller coaster at one point, but then I realized I've never been on a roller coaster that went that fast. So it is definitely different. Yeah. GM Kingfish says the pro drivers at Ron Fellows make you feel like you've never driven before. They really do. Because again, it's like you can go out on the back roads of your around your house and just rip through the turns and take turns going way faster than you should, and you feel good about yourself. But you're not pushing that car to even close to even half of its capabilities.
Dude, they're driving, looking in the rearview mirror, watching who's doing what, and they're leading us. We're like, yeah, we're killing it. And they're like, yeah, okay, so John, you might want to speed up and hey, turn, brake, whatever,
Yeah, and that was one of the things I was thinking is, they're driving to basically way higher extents than we are, and they're looking in their rearview mirror telling us what to do. So in order to do that, you have to imagine the things that are going on. Like, they're able to process what you're doing, whether it's right or wrong, while doing their own thing, mostly correct, I would have to imagine, and doing it way faster than anybody else is doing it, because they have to stay in front of you. And if you start getting up on them, if you're doing really well and you're getting close to them, they'll start speeding up because they're not going at 100%.
Right.
They're staying back for your sake. So when you start getting up on them, they'll start going faster. And if you get up on them again, they'll go faster again. They are definitely going to be faster than you. So you can't really chase them too much, but they like it when you do, because as you get closer to them, they start pulling too. So it's kind of, like I said, it's an absolute blast. And I would love to do that. Eric Bush says you can rent the facility for private/group events. I'd love to do that, but I would have to imagine it is going to be pretty pricey.
Oh yeah.
Because the biggest expense is always going to be having some sort of EMS on hand. That's the thing about running a track, is you have to have that. Dax says he got yelled at 5 times for having his hands too high. I'm like, how can they see that and not fly off the road? Yeah, I know, right? It's like all you're seeing is knuckles. Like, you'd have to really be focusing on that. But if you're focusing on that in your rear view, how are you not focusing on the road?
Yep.
But yeah,
it's second nature for them. Probably they've driven the lap so many times, they probably just know where the heck they're at. You know what I mean? Almost all the time, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Ron Fellows does offer Dramamine. I thought at one point that I was getting sick from driving the car. So I took some, but it ended up being that I had a migraine and I had to eat something for lunch, and it went away. But I thought it was odd because like I've spent a significant amount of time on a track before. Like when I went with AWE with my Stingray and when I went with AWE with my Z06, I was on a track for 10 hours with my Z06 and like 12 hours with my Stingray. And that was me consistently ripping around the track for like 90% of that time. Never had a problem with feeling sick. And then at Ron Fellows, I started to feel sick at one point, and I realized I had a migraine really bad, and it was making me like feel like I was going to throw up. I took 2 or 3 Dramamines, and they didn't do anything because the problem wasn't motion sickness. So I don't know. But in case you do get motion sickness, they do have the stuff there on site. So anyway, guys, that was my experience. I think honestly, you're going to enjoy your experience either way, but you're going to enjoy your experience a lot more if you go with people you know and enjoy the company of. So I obviously went with Shane, Dax, Brad, BPR Z06, and Mike, Z06 Mike. And I know all these guys. We've all met multiple times before, so we had a good time. We had a good time even outside of the driving and stuff. But honestly, I would have enjoyed myself even by myself, just not as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah. Sounds like General's, he's on crutches now, can't get in the car, sprained knee, but we had it out on date night. Oh. What happened to your knee? I didn't hear you guys. Anything happened to your knee? Yeah, that was another thing. BPR Z06 said we had perfect 70-degree weather. And you know what's funny? Brad, I wanted to text you about it because we were there Monday and Tuesday. Technically, I was there Sunday night too. So Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, it was a high of like 68 to 70. The lows got pretty low, but we weren't out on the track at that point. And no rain. It was beautiful weather. Then literally the next day, so we left on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the high was like 53 and a good chance of rain. And I was like, wow, did we ever luck out? Like, we had fantastic weather. And, you know, you're in the desert, so if you go during June or July, you're going to bake. Wow. When did you go, Jason?
If I remember correctly, it was in September. And when we got there, it was phenomenal. It was like 70 all week, but the week before was like 105, man.
I was going to say September would be dangerous, I think.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. We got to take her.
Nice.
Again, guys, we got to get $400 on this thing tonight to give it away, but looks like John Perkins gives $100. He says, stuff I really want.
Yeah.
He really wants this. And you should, because this kit will get you completely covered.
Hey, so, you know again, what we haven't talked about?
Yes, I do.
What?
And we're going to talk about it right now. So, guys, again, I want to mention, we've talked about this a couple times in the past with the live videos, but again, in the description down below, you can actually enter to win this C8 Corvette Z06 plus $20,000. So this is given to us, well, it's not given to us, but this opportunity is given to us from MS Solutions. So multiple sclerosis is the charity that this benefits even if you don't win the car. So if you donate to win the car, you will get 25% more entries just because you're doing it off of this channel from that link in the description down below. So as you can see here, if you buy $25, or if you put $25 towards it, you would normally get 18 tickets, but you'll get an additional 5 just by doing it in the link in the description. Now, like I said before, you can take your chances here, win the car. Even if you don't win, you're going to be donating to a really good charity. And from what I understand, you might be able to write off those donations, assuming you do not win, because it is a charitable donation. So it's kind of a win-win, guys. You might win a car, and even if you don't, you're supporting a really awesome charity that you can write off at the end of the year. So check out the link in the description down below, guys. I would love to see one of you win this car. I think it would be fantastic because obviously you're going to get to experience a Z06 now, but also you're going to win a Z06. Like my Z06 sitting in the garage is nowhere near as cool as one that I could actually win. And Steve, didn't you actually donate something to this?
Yeah, I donated $100.
Yeah. So Steve's taking his chances too because he wants a Z06 sitting behind him.
Yeah. And it'll sit there too.
You wouldn't sell the Stingray?
Oh, no, the Stingray would be gone.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it'd be.
Yeah, he'd have a different car to never drive.
Yeah, exactly.
So guys, check out the link in the description down below. Get entered to win that Z06. Get entered to win the Paragon Performance lowering kit here. If you guys haven't seen it, it's the same lowering kit I have on my car, and it drops it absolutely perfectly. It sits perfect. It's not too low, and it is almost, the wheel gap is almost completely gone. It's the way the car should have come.
Yeah, and don't let Steve fool you. It's not that he doesn't want to drive his car. It's just that he's got that race deck flooring, and when he pulls it out, the floor just elevates. So he has to keep his car there to make sure the floor doesn't elevate. That's the main reason.
But I am driving another Corvette right now, C5.
Yes.
In the rain. I'm picking up another one tomorrow from the Corvette warehouse.
Steve, tell me
he's
why.
like, I don't know what to do. I'm in a Corvette and it's raining. I feel like,
I know. Yeah.
It didn't teach you that it doesn't melt?
Oh, it actually started raining when I was on my way home. I'm like, oh, this is what this feels like. Oh, this is what my blades look like. I don't even know if my wiper blades will work on this one.
Yeah, right. No, what I was going to say is I'm surprised I've not even seen a picture of this car.
Oh, that's right. I need to post one. It's like, of all colors, it's black. So
yeah.
I realize.
Hey, I'm a guy that can obviously appreciate the black cars. I mean, look at this thing.
And look, but I love a C5. It just
look right
it
here.
moves.
Anyway, Dax says, yes, we got lucky with the weather. I can't imagine trying to push yourself on that track in the rain with a $15,000 deductible.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. So, one thing that they did show us while we were driving those figure eights in the parking lot that was all covered in water is that when you turned on weather mode, the car does a really good job at counteracting what would normally happen without the weather control on. So without the weather control, you come around that turn, you hit the gas, it's kicking out the rear end. With it on, it literally won't let you do that. It will not let you kick out the rear end. Now, they did say it will save you at that speed. Because if you're going 100 miles an hour doing the same thing, nothing's going to save you. You know, God be with you at that point. But so Dax, you're very accurate here. It would be tough to be on that track, and that school is rain or shine. So if it is raining, you're still going out on the track. It's just going to be a much different experience. I mean, can you imagine hitting those apexes and having that thing being soaking wet? You're going to fly right off of it. But yeah, another thing is with the Z06, you can choose to buy the extra insurance, and if you do, I think it was $400 for the C8 Z06, which is, from what I understand, significantly higher than it is for the Stingray. I think it's $200 for the Stingray.
When I went, I'm pretty sure it was $300 if I'm on the C7, because I bought it for Jody on her car.
You didn't buy it for yourself?
No.
Ouch. Ouch. That hurts.
Well, she is the one that went off the track, so.
That's true. That's true. So with that said, actually, one of our guys he didn't go off the track, but he spun. And I think BPR 06, I think he has the footage of it happening on his PDR. So Mike was going around a turn just cranking on it. And you should have heard him telling the story. It was like nothing, no big deal. But he was going around a turn and he just hammered the gas too hard. The whole car spun around on the track. He didn't go off the track, luckily. But he was just like, oh, yeah. He's like, I spun it out. And I was like, you did? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, did you go off the track? He's like, no, I was still on the track. It was fine. And I was like, I would be like crapping myself. How are you okay with this? And he didn't buy the extra insurance either. So, I mean, he could have potentially been out like 15 grand.
One thing they told me though, because we talked about it when I was there, they're like, we have the ability to fix things at a far cheaper price than what you would get obviously outside in the real world.
Well, so, 15,000 is the max. So if you were to go off the track and literally just flip the car 100 times and smash into a wall and it catches on fire before you get out of it, you're paying 15 grand. But if you go off the track and you ruin three tires and two of the wheels or something, you're not going to pay 15 grand. You're going to pay whatever it is it actually costs.
That's what they were saying. They're like, for them to get splitters and things like that wasn't,
Yeah. Well, another interesting thing I found out about Ron Fellows' situation is that all of the cars we were driving, so all 6 cars plus the instructors had 2 in the front. Ron Fellows doesn't own those cars. Those were donated by Chevy. Those are Chevrolet owned cars. And apparently Ron Fellows is in the process of getting their own C8 Z06s. But until then, these cars are actually owned by GM, because I asked them. I went around all of them. Of course, the first thing in my head, I'm like, why don't any of these cars have scrape armor, radiator grill guards on them? And they're like, oh, it'd be too expensive. Plus, they're not our cars. AKA.
What about the Stingrays?
Some of the Stingrays had them.
No, but I mean, do they own the Stingrays?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of the Stingrays, if they were advertised as on the front splitter, they would be advertised with a scrape armor sticker. They would have scrape armor radiator grill guards, but none of the Z06s did. And another thing I noticed initially, at least, is that all 6 of our cars, including the 2 instructor-driven cars, had carbon ceramic rotors. And I was like, that's really weird. None of these have iron rotors. And then they swapped them out. They swapped out Shane's car at one point because his PDR stopped working. And the car that they put him in was iron rotors. So I asked Shane, I was like, dude, can you, like, you're driving both back to back on the track. Can you notice a difference? And he said, not really. So the iron rotors are good, obviously very good. But the thing that he said that as we drove longer, he could feel what I would have to imagine is a brake fade with the iron rotors. Whereas the longer you drive the carbon ceramics, the better they grip. Yeah. So it's like almost like the opposite effect. Brad, I was surprised at that too, especially since, I always thought it was whatever car you bought is the one you drive. So all of us there bought a Z06. None of us bought a Z07. So the fact that Z07 car was even an option there is surprising. And another thing, we weren't driving to the absolute ends of of the car's potential, but I didn't notice anybody with a Z07 car doing better than somebody in a Z06. So this is kind of surprising to me, because like if I would have gone whenever I bought my ZR1, I would have got there and they would have put me in a ZR1 ZTK package manual transmission car, because that's what I bought. But when we got there this time, they were like, yeah, go choose your car. I chose a Z07 car. I don't own a Z07 car. So I thought that was odd that they gave us that option as well.
That is different. They didn't do that when I was there. Now, Jody drove the Stingray because it was cheaper and I had to pay for her.
Right.
But I drove the Grand Sport because that's what I had, auto, at the time.
So, Jason, what do you remember what you paid for her?
Man, I want to say it was like $1,200, but man, I might be wrong.
So it is. If you go there, and honestly, anybody can go. Like if any of you guys in the comment section wanted to go, even if you don't own a car, you can go. It's $4,000. If you buy the car brand new, like I did, Chevy cuts it down to $1,000. That's what you pay. So, now that's for the Z06, I believe. It might be less for the Stingray. Maybe it still is. No, that's true. So C-Boys 70 Vet says you would never drive your car the way you drive it there. And that's 100% true. The biggest reason is I can get in someone else's car and drive that thing like I stole it. But I don't want to do that in my car. And that's the beauty of Ron Fellows. You can drive it however you want. As long as you don't go off the track, you can beat on that car all day long. No one's going to yell at you.
The only other way to do that would be to work for like a transport company and then steal somebody's car that has like 2 miles on it and take it out and drive up like you stole it.
Yep.
Now that never happens, of course, but
Yep. Yeah, Elijah, if you don't buy the car new, you don't get money off of that trip. So it's $4,000 to experience that.
Yeah.
If you buy the car, like whenever I bought my C8 Z06, it comes with a pass to Ron Fellows, and all I pay out of pocket is $1,000 plus my airfare to get there. So, I mean, honestly, for $1,000, that is very, very nice, nicely priced as far as I'm concerned for what you got out of it. And no, BPR Z06, I did not mention that. That was something else we did in the middle of everything else I was talking about. We also did launch control. They showed the appropriate way to do launch. A couple little, inside tips and whatnot. And I've launched my car in the past, but it was surprising that everybody else in the class, nobody else launched their car yet. One of the first things I did when I hit 500 miles, I think it was, I launched it. I'm going to launch it. I want to. But
you know what sucked is when we went, they didn't do I mean, I already did mine, so I didn't really care, but we didn't get to do it when we were there. They didn't have that.
Oh, they didn't do launch.
Mm-mm.
That's crazy. So see how much has changed in just what?
Well, no, but
5
what's
years,
weird
6 years?
is classes prior to me, I know they did because I watch videos and they did the launch control. When
I was
we
going to
went,
say I've seen videos with a C7 because
Yep.
they show how to launch a manual transmission car too,
yes,
which is obviously
unfortunately
a lot
we
more
did
difficult.
not.
Huh.
Which I didn't care, but
Dax says he wants to go back. It would be fun with the same group once a year. Justin, call them up and use some of your YouTube star power. That was the only place that I feel like they didn't care at all that I was a YouTuber. Like they don't care. They don't need the extra publicity. They got more than enough business now. They don't need it. But that would be awesome though, Dax, if we could. I think the only way that's going to happen is if all 4 of us or all 5 of us buy ZR1s around the same time, which, yeah, we know how likely that is to happen. Let's see. So Kevin, Kevin Rand says, did you paddle shift? They actually want you to paddle shift.
Yep.
So I thought that was interesting too. And because most of the time, my experience in the Z06 and even the C8 Stingray was the same. Putting it in drive, the car knows better when to shift than you do. So I was surprised to hear them say to put it in paddle manual mode. They wanted you paddle shifting. And for the most part, we were only using, like Shane said, we were only using gears 2, 3, and 4 on the track. That was it.
Yep.
We never went lower. We never went higher.
Wow.
But you are manually shifting the entire time, which of course is awesome. You know, I love the paddle shifters on this car because the car sounds amazing. But yeah. Anyway, you're using the paddles the whole time.
Yeah, we did the same.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I wonder, well, obviously they didn't do that with the manual transmission C7s, but yeah. Yeah, John, they did a really, really good job at focusing on what everybody was doing well and helping the people on the things they weren't doing well with. So he says that he thought it was cool that on his last day he asked if there was anything that you really wanted to work on, and his was getting the shift points down. They did a really good job of telling you where you should shift, and especially after we had some track time, they took our PDRs or the memory card out of the PDR, and we went into the classroom and popped it into a laptop and actually watched our footage with the instructor, and the instructors were telling us, okay, so right here, you know, you're going around this turn. This is where you should shift. This is where you should brake. This is where you should turn. And you're getting to see it as you're doing it. So I thought that was really awesome. BPR Z06 says, get us 5 ZR1s at MSRP. I don't even think I'm going to be able to get 1 ZR1 at MSRP, so that's definitely not happening.
Yeah.
C-Boy says they're booked 4 months out. Yeah, and that's the thing is, when I got my car, got it in July, me and Brad, BPR Z06, we talked almost immediately about this. We were trying to get into a class since around July. And it took until January, at the end of January, to finally get a class where there was at least 6 openings. Now, they did mention in our class this time that right now it's only 6, but in the future, they're planning on opening it up to either 12 or 18 Z06s at a time. So it sounds like it's a car inventory problem. So as they get more Z06s, they're going to have larger Z06 classes.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure there was like 8 people in our class when we did it. And then, of course, you had the other ones that were on the tracks. There was another 8.
Yeah. Omid says, which track were you guys on? I believe we were on the East Bowl is what it was called, I think. But yeah, so I actually like the fact that when we went, there was only 6 of us because it's a smaller class. It feels more, you know, one-on-one kind of approach. I would be it would be a lot more intimidating to be in a class with 18 people. Yeah, D's Ride says, in my C701 class, they made people who had autos paddle shift. Man, I wish I would have gone with my ZR1. When I bought my ZR1, it was so close to the explosion of COVID that I couldn't get out there. And I really feel like they should have offered some sort of extension because of that. But
true,
it's definitely disappointing because I feel like the ZR1 on that track would have just been absolutely insane.
Yep.
Another thing is, they all of the Z06s, whether they were Z07 packages or not, they took the Sport Cup 2Rs off and put on the Sport 4S tires. So the biggest reason for this is because the Sport Cup or the Cup 2Rs basically would last like 1 or 2 track sessions, and then they're junk. So they're putting on the 4Ss that last a lot longer, but they're not quite as good on the track. Again, none of us there are driving to the absolute extent of that car's capabilities anyway, so the tire doesn't matter that much anyway. But just so you know, if you get into a Z07, it's not going to have the Sport Cup 2Rs. We've got 83 thumbs ups, guys. That's definitely lower than what we're used to, but it looks like there's less people on
yeah, and we're on a way off night.
And actually, we did get one more donation. So we're at 2 now, it looks like. Let me see if I can find out who did this.
What is it?
I'm working on it, Steve. Give me a minute. Yeah, we got $200. It was 2020 Matrix 8 donates $100. So
for 100.
Yep. So we got 2 donations for $100, guys. We are 200 away from meeting our goal for giving this away tonight. So if any of the heavy hitters out there want to donate $200 more, we will give it away tonight. But we only got about 10 more minutes on here. It looks like we started a little late, so you got 10 minutes. We'll give you till 8:40 Eastern time. If you guys want to get in another $200, we'll give these away tonight. If not, they will be pushed to Monday night, which is not that far from now.
A couple of days from now.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, I guess there was only a little bit of news I wanted to talk about. There wasn't a whole lot available. The biggest one, and we kind of talked about this already at the Ron Fellows, so a couple of the guys in here are already going to know this, but some of the Z06s are selling for some crazy amounts at Barrett Jackson again. So the values of the cars seem like they might be going back up. So this one right here, this, I think it's Elkhart Lake Blue. Or no. It's a Z06 3LZ Z07 car sold for $270,000. So the MSRP there you can see is $153,000. It sold for $270,000 at Barrett Jackson. And this was just not that long ago. Where does it say it? I think it was just a couple days ago. So these are kind of showing the values of these cars coming back up. Definitely interesting. If you guys are into the idea of keeping some sort of value on the Z06s. Here's another one. This one was interesting because it's only a 1LZ. It's got the comp seats, full factory warranty, but the original MSRP was $114,000. It sold for $225,000. So something to keep in mind. These cars are still maintaining value to some degree. The only other bit of news I want to talk about a little bit was this one, and it is whether or not the Corvette is a supercar. This has been a conversation that has been going on for as long as I can remember. And one of my very first videos I ever made on YouTube was about this, whether or not I thought the C7 Corvette at the time was a supercar. And I stand by what I said in the video, and that is the C7 from the Z06 and up, I do think is a supercar. I would say the same thing with the C8 from the Z06 and up is a supercar. I'm curious what you guys think. Now, before we get into, well, that's not a supercar, blah, blah, blah. There is not actually an official definition of what a supercar is. The biggest things that stand out is obviously high horsepower. Usually somewhere in there, it says something about being a 2-seater. Stuff like that. Sometimes you'll hear something about production numbers entered in. That's where, especially the C7 ZR1, and as of right now, the C8 Z06 comes in because they made very few of those cars. So if that's what makes a supercar, then it's hard to argue that the Corvette isn't one. Now, that video from the Corvette blogger is actually posted by a YouTube site called CNS Corvettes. I actually got to meet him at Corvettes at Carlisle this year. He's a really, really nice guy. They usually focus more so on the mechanics end of stuff, but definitely really cool guys over there. So if you check out CNS Corvette on YouTube, you'll enjoy your time there. That's a great point, Bruno. He says, sitting behind the wheel, I feel super. I think that really should be the definition of a supercar. All right, guys. So we haven't gotten any more donations. Like I said, we need $200 more to give this thing away tonight. And if you don't have your car lowered, I can promise you'll be happier with it lowered, especially if you have the front end lift. DBM Racing says Z06 is 100% a supercar, 5th fastest all time in the car and driver lightning lap, and fastest NA car ever. Yeah, I mean, when you look at the paper, the specs on paper, it's a no-brainer. And especially right now with the limited production numbers, I don't see how you could say it's not. After driving one at Ron Fellows on the track and stuff, it's definitely a supercar. Yeah, AARPM, his name's Lyle. He was actually staying at the same hotel we were at, and I walked in and I was like, hey, I know you. And him and I have actually talked and worked on a couple things behind the scenes since Carlisle. It was interesting. YNV says, definitely looks and performs like a supercar. Cannot see paying $200,000 for a Chevrolet. I would get the Maserati MC20 for that price. Yeah, the Maserati's actually a pretty nice car. I'm not a big fan of Maserati, but the MC20 is literally the only one I would consider owning.
It is, but it sounds like a freaking vacuum cleaner, and it's a Maserati. So guess where it's probably going to spend the other 50% of the time.
Yeah,
that is your garage or the Maserati garage.
That is, of course, the problem, and that's the problem you run into with most cars that people would call a supercar, is that they're in the shop more than they're in your hands. And if they're not in the shop, they are costing a bunch of money to maintain. So that's why sometimes it's not even worth getting a Z06. Matt Hurley, what's up, man? He says, sorry I'm late. What's up, everybody? I was actually going to say, I was going to mark this down on the calendar as the very first one that Matt Hurley missed, because I'm pretty sure he has never missed an episode. Well, Matt, if you're in the house and you want to help these guys out, we have the giveaway for tonight is a Paragon Performance lowering kit. So lowering collars for the front, lowering spacers for the front if you don't want to drop it to full inch, lowering wrenches for the rear, and all of the miscellaneous hardware that you would need to do that on a Z06. So you'll need like brake line spacers and stuff. But basically, it's around a $200, $220 package. You can win it, of course, with the normal donations. $100 donation gets you 2 times entries. And yeah, if you want to get in on something like that. I know you don't have a Z06 right now, but it will work on an E-Ray as well. And it will work on a Stingray too.
I think Matt asked about the photography packages at Ron Fellows. And I don't know what yours were, but to me, I thought they were extremely high. We did do them for Jody, but I did not do it for me.
So I bought the I think it was a 36 by 24 vertical, and it will include 3 shots of your car on the wall. And then that of course included the USB stick with about 35 photos on it.
Yep.
That was $720, I believe, which is definitely significant. But it's on acrylic, and from what I've heard, it was actually Larry Anthony told me the quality is like phenomenal. Now this big thing behind me with the ZR1 on it, that is actually printed on acrylic as well, and that only cost me I think $150, and that's way bigger than the one I got from Ron Fellows.
So ours was less. I think it was like 4 something, but we didn't get them big photos. So
yeah. If you just get the memory stick, I think it was $180 for the 35 photos or something, and they're nice photos.
Yeah, ours was a little bit more, but it was also there was more to it, but it wasn't as big as what your package was. That sounds gross, but
I was just gonna say, do I have to comment on that? LT4 Power
didn't come
says
out the way I intended.
FSD, is that gray diecast C7 behind you a Z06?
The what?
Your diecast car behind you, is it a Z06?
No.
The gray one. The gray one.
Oh no, that's my old Grand Sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, of course, Matt donated $100. So we are at $300, guys. If we get $100 more, we will give this away tonight. So who's gonna be the guy? Who's gonna be the guy? Let's do this. Let's give it away tonight. I like giving stuff away.
Right now, it's completely even.
It is, yeah. We have 3 $100 donations. Let's get one more so we can give it away. One of you guys is going to take it, and it's all even at this point. So nobody stands a better chance than the next. It's all going to be chance. Somebody out there wants this. Somebody out there needs it. And actually, all 3 guys who have donated are people that definitely need it. They don't have lowering stuff on their car currently.
We can wrap up the what do you call it? The vote thing, the poll.
Oh yeah.
My brain wasn't.
So 78 people voted. 55% said yes. So we'll call that 35 people or so. That's not bad. I think we'll probably end up making some. So actually, who donated a super chat? Silver Reaper. $20 for Silver Reaper. He says, "Can you play those guitars behind you? Where is yours?" Protective dad pranks, I guess. Yeah. Actually, Jason has one too. I just now saw the head of it there, but yeah, I can play that. I'm not a professional by any means, but I can play some Metallica and stuff. Some of the easier things I can play. Silver Reaper will get you in for 2 entries on that.
Got it. What is Mark Cutsy up to?
Mark Cutsy says he was waiting for Matt. Well, Mark, he donated, so where are you at? Oh, he did. All right. We hit 400, so we're giving these things away. Mark Cutsy donates 100. He will not let Matt Hurley beat him. It's funny. Scott says he donated another 25 to MS Solution. Decided to do this every time I catch your live.
Awesome.
Great cause. That is a fantastic idea, Scott. Like I said, worst case scenario, you don't win. You're donating to a great cause, and you can write it off. You can literally write that off. So that's fantastic that you would do that, though, Scott. I know a lot of people. I know actually one person personally that has MS, and they would definitely thank you for that. So thanks for being a decent person, and hopefully you win. I mean, like I said, I'd love to see you guys win. If one of you guys do win, by the way, make sure you come back here and let us know that you won.
Yeah.
Don't take the car and flee to Mexico and never talk to us again, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we are about ready here, guys. So we got our $400 mark. That's really awesome, by the way, guys. Thank you all for the support. You guys are awesome. And actually, Mark Cutsy, I'm pretty sure your car is not lowered yet either. Wait a second. We got some more coming in here now. Everybody waits till the last minute. Aaron Anderson, AARPM, he donates $10.
He donated what?
10.
Okay.
Kevin Horan donates 10. Man, this list is good tonight. I would like to see every one of these guys win, because I know Kevin Horan just got his car, and his car is actually a Z07 kit car too. So is 2020 Matrix 8s.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I'm not even sure who I'm rooting for tonight. You guys are all awesome on this list. Gen X says, if I win, can I get a sticker? I'll be honest with you, Gen X. If we cut a bunch of vinyls, we're going to be giving those things away like candy. I can promise you that.
So he's local, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
He's in our group. See, if you're in the DFW area, you have a special privilege of being with our little. We have a group down there, Group Me. Right now we have 29 members. Yeah. Just in Group Me to say, hey, what are you doing Saturday? So it's crazy.
And I want to say we feel really bad. By the way, Steve, his car is at Coco's right now. Somebody
like
SUV decided to. Huh?
Smart.
Yeah.
Coco's the man.
I'm like, take it to Coco's. A guy in an SUV decided to run over the front of his C5.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah, it does.
AARPM says, I don't even have a car right now, LMAO. I just threw $10 to throw a wrench in the gears.
Literally.
He's going to be the one that wins because of that.
A literal wrench.
No, LT4 Powered says, too bad Matt will win. I don't know.
There's
no guarantee.
Here's the list. I'm showing you the list. So you guys all see the names on there and how you are. So if you're thinking this is rigged, this is the way it comes up.
Yep.
Look at this.
It's all weighted based on how much you donate. And then he hits a button and the iPad does the rest.
I think we do it now. So
all right, yeah, go ahead. Let's do it. Hit it.
And then continue. And no, I'm not recording. And here we're gonna raffle. Are we ready? Boom.
2020 Matrix 8. All right.
Hey, there you go.
Heck
Jeremy,
yeah, dude. So
I couldn't see that one.
Jeremy wins. He saves himself about 120 bucks all in. We'll obviously put that information over to Corey at Paragon Performance. So again, guys, Paragon was the sponsor of tonight's live video. Obviously they're making some awesome products over there, and we have definitely formed a really, really tight relationship with them. Corey's the man. You guys have seen him on the live before. I do want to get him on the live again here relatively soon, just because he brings a lot of knowledge to the table. And yeah, he's awesome on the camera too. So congratulations, Jeremy. I will send your info over to Corey, of course, even though he probably doesn't need it. You buy so much stuff from them anyway. But yeah, guys, thanks everybody for the donations tonight. You guys were awesome. We're going back to Monday night starting in a couple days here, Monday night, 7:30. So be aware of that. But other than that, yeah, that's it. We'll see you guys next Monday night, which is not far from now, at 7:30. See ya.
Awesome.